We have just received the first images of the historic Artemis II lunar flyby, and what they show is absolutely breathtaking. After more than 50 years since the Apollo missions, humanity has once again traveled around the moon, and this time it's not just about returning, but about preparing for something much bigger, the permanent return of humans to the lunar surface, and perhaps one day, a journey to Mars. The Artemis II mission marks a historic moment because it will be the first time since 1972 that astronauts have ventured so far from Earth. On board are 4 astronauts: Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. Their spacecraft is the Orion module, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of deep space, far from the natural protection of Earth's atmosphere. During the flyby, the crew reached a distance of approximately 4,000 miles above the surface of the Moon and broke the record for the greatest distance humans have been from Earth since the Apollo 8 mission in 1968. And here's something incredible to put that distance into perspective. The Moon is about 384,000 kilometers from Earth. That means the astronauts were so far away that our planet began to look small, fragile, and almost unrecognizable. In some images, Earth appears as a tiny blue dot hiding behind a crescent moon. 3 worlds in a single image: Earth, the Moon, and the vast emptiness of space between them. It's hard to see something like that and not feel that our planet really is tiny. The mission also allowed us to observe something extremely rare, a total solar eclipse seen from lunar orbit. From the astronauts' perspective, the Moon completely covered the Sun for approximately 54 minutes. To compare, here on Earth, a total solar eclipse usually lasts only a few minutes. But why does it last so much longer from lunar orbit? Because from the crew's position, the Moon appeared much larger than it does from Earth, allowing it to block the Sun for a much longer period. In some of the most striking photographs, the Sun appears completely hidden behind the Moon. But what's most fascinating is that one edge of the Moon is softly illuminated. That glow doesn't come from the Sun, it comes from the Earth. It's known as Earthshine, sunlight reflected by the Earth that partially illuminates the lunar surface. It's exactly the same phenomenon we see here when the dark side of a crescent moon appears faintly illuminated. But this time, the roles are reversed, as the Earth becomes the light source. And while that eclipse was happening, astronauts also managed to capture several planets in the background of space. Saturn, Mars, and Mercury appeared visible near the Moon. All of this was possible because during the eclipse, the Moon became much darker, and the cameras could use longer exposures, allowing them to capture stars and planets simultaneously. But those long exposures also revealed another important detail. In some photos, small bright spots appear on the dark side of the Moon. These aren't stars, they're dead pixels on the cameras, likely caused by the intense radiation of deep space. Outside Earth's atmosphere, astronauts are exposed to a far more dangerous environment. Earth constantly shields us from much of the Sun's and cosmic radiation, but Orion and its crew are traveling far beyond that protection. And that reminds us of something important: going to the Moon remains extremely difficult. When we think of the Moon, we usually picture a gray, cratered, and fairly uniform sphere. But the images from Artemis II show that the Moon is far more complex, dramatic, and varied than we typically imagine. During the flyby, the crew captured some of the most detailed views we've had in decades of certain regions of the lunar surface. One of the most impressive was the Eastern Basin. The Eastern Basin is one of the youngest and best-preserved impact craters on the entire Moon. It is hundreds of kilometers in diameter and has enormous concentric rings that formed when a giant asteroid struck the lunar surface billions of years ago. Around it, countless other overlapping craters can be seen, showing that the Moon has been battered repeatedly for billions of years. Unlike Earth, the Moon has no atmosphere, rain, oceans, or plate tectonics to erase the marks of the past. Each impact remains there virtually forever. That's why looking at the lunar surface is like looking at a fossil record of the early solar system. Another thing that makes these images so impressive is the way sunlight falls on the lunar surface. Many of the photographs were taken near the so-called terminator line. That name might sound strange, but it simply refers to the line that divides day and night on the Moon. And it is precisely there that the lunar topography becomes most spectacular. The mountains cast enormous shadows, the rims of craters appear much higher and the cracks and uneven terrain become far more visible. It's similar to when we see a city at dawn or dusk here on Earth. Long shadows make buildings, mountains, and objects look much more dramatic. The same thing happens on the Moon. That's why some of the craters photographed during Artemis II appear so deep and intimidating. But perhaps one of the most moving moments of this mission has nothing to do with geology, but rather something much more human. The Artemis II crew proposed naming two craters that currently have no names. One was named Integrity in honor of the Orion lander, and the other was named Carol in honor of Reed Wiseman's late wife and the mother of his children. It's a small detail, but deeply touching. You'd better hear it for yourself.
Call it Carol, and you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
Integrity and Carol Crater. Loud and clear. Thank you.
This reminds us that even on such a technological and scientific mission, we still carry our stories, our memories, and the people we love with us, even to the Moon. Another thing that happened during the Artemis II flyby is that the crew captured some of the most spectacular images of Earth seen from lunar orbit. And one of the most impressive was something known as an Earth set. It's basically the opposite of a sunrise on Earth. Instead of seeing the sun disappearing behind the horizon, the astronauts saw Earth slowly setting behind the edge of the Moon. The dark side of Earth was going through night, while on the sunlit side, enormous cloud systems could be seen swirling over Australia and Oceania. It's a beautiful, but also strange, image because we're normally used to looking at the Moon from Earth, but here the opposite is happening. From the Moon, Earth becomes the distant object that appears and disappears on the horizon. And that completely changes our perspective, since we're used to seeing the Moon in phases: full moon, first quarter, waning moon. But from the Moon's perspective, Earth also goes through phases. It can appear full, waxing, waning, or completely dark. And that makes our planet look strangely alien, almost like another world. And that must have felt very different from any other human experience. It's easy to get lost in the beauty of the Artemis II photographs, the Moon, Earth, eclipses, craters, and deep space. But behind each of those images is something even more incredible. There are human beings. Each photograph was taken by real people who were experiencing something that very few human beings have ever experienced. Reedisman is the mission commander. Victor Glover will become the first African-American astronaut to travel around the Moon. Christina Koch will be the first woman on a lunar mission, and Jeremy Hansen will be the first Canadian to travel into deep space. During the lunar flyby, we saw several photographs of the crew working, observing, and simply enjoying the moment. In some images, they appear using professional cameras to photograph the Moon. In others, we see them looking out of Orion's windows as the lunar surface slowly passes before them. There were even photographs of them using special glasses to safely observe the solar eclipse. And yes, even in space, you need protection to look directly at the sun. We also saw a series of very symbolic photographs where Christina Koch, Victor Glover, and Jeremy Hansen appear looking back at Earth from the same window. Meanwhile, Reed Wiseman appears looking toward the Moon. It's a simple yet powerful image. 3 people looking at the place we came from and 1 looking at the place we are going. Although the images from Artemis II already seem historic, the most important thing is that this mission is just the beginning, because Orion didn't travel to the Moon just to take stunning photographs. The true objective of Artemis is much more ambitious. NASA wants to return astronauts to the lunar surface, establish a permanent presence there, and use the Moon as a kind of training ground for future missions to Mars. And that completely changes how we see these images, because we're not just seeing an exploration mission, we're seeing the first steps of something much bigger. After Artemis II will come Artemis III, the mission that aims to take humans back to the lunar surface for the first time since 1972. And this time there's a huge difference compared to the Apollo missions. It's not just about planting a flag, collecting some rocks, and going home. The idea is to stay, to learn to survive for weeks or months away from Earth, and that won't be easy. The Moon seems close when we see it in the sky, but in reality, it's an extremely hostile place. There's no air, no liquid water on the surface, no protection from radiation, but the positive aspect is that the moon's gravity is much weaker than Earth's. That makes launching a spacecraft from there much easier than launching from Earth. That's why many scientists believe a lunar base could become the ideal starting point for missions to Mars. And this is where Artemis really gets exciting, because Mars is much farther away than the Moon. Depending on the position of both planets, a trip to Mars could take between 6 and 9 months. That means that before attempting something so extreme, we need to learn how to live off Earth for extended periods. And the Moon is the perfect place to learn all of that, but only time will tell.